Hannah Murray on TRE in the afternoon.
Joining us on the line now is Arnold Gilberg. He is the last person alive trained by Franz Alexander, a distinguished colleague of Sigmund Freud. He was the chief psychiatric resident at the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center and is a distinguished life fellow of the American Psychiatric Association. His new book, The Myth of Aging, offers a prescription for finding and keeping happiness and well-being throughout a person's life. Welcome to the show, Arnold.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's lovely to have you with us. So I have to dive straight in and ask you about the myth. What is the myth of aging? What is it that most people seem to misunderstand about getting older?
Well, the myth is that aging is a very complex issue that takes up both physical and mental issues. But one can age well as long as they recognize that life continues to have different patterns of behavior and that we continue to age and we can do well. That's why there are a number of people aging today who are called super agers.
And how would you describe a super ager? What does that mean?
Well, it's a person, man or woman, who remains interested in their life and what they're accomplishing and in other people's lives. And it takes in also a sense of physical well-being. That's a critical issue that I have felt strongly about for so many years now. I'm an MD and a PhD, and so I come from a medical background, and my entire practice has always been that you can't treat the mental without the physical.
Yeah, it's interesting that it all kind of goes together. The importance of one's health as we get older is huge, isn't it? You know, if you have your health, if you're able to still go for walks in the countryside, things like that, it can make a big difference to your physical health and also, as you say, your mental well-being. Well,
it goes on throughout our lives. You know, if you're in your 20s and you're not physically active in some way, your mental health can't be what it should be. And so I've been a devotee of all this for all of my life. And I would say that I have lived my life pretty much that way also. I'll be 90 in 6 months.
Wow.
And I'm still working and still active in a variety of ways. And so I find that my attitude about life has worked for me.
Yeah.
And I know it can work for others also.
Yeah. I think for people who make exercise just part of their life, it's part of their routine, it's something that they obviously do, like brushing their teeth or whatever, it must be very weird to see people at whatever age, as you say, in their 20s or in their 70s and beyond, who don't exercise. Why would people not, I guess?
Yes. My wife and myself make it a point to exercise 2 or 3 days a week.
Amazing.
And we find it very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? The earlier that you start, the earlier that it becomes a routine. It's just something that you always do. But it is never too late to start. For people who haven't done regular exercise, you can start in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s or whatever. It's never too late, is it?
You can start anytime, even in your 90s. You know, there's something people can do. But I also want to say that our mental condition is also very critical. You know, as people age, there are different conflicts which surface. You know, each age is different. So as people age, conflicts become even more critical and apparent. If you're married, you have adult children, they may have issues. And so it's a very complex thing. But as you age, you have to have also an attitude that not that you're being narcissistic, but you need to come first. Because if you're not feeling that way, your life can swallow you up. And between children, grandchildren, whatever. So it's an important issue also for people as they age to draw upon themselves. In the book, I also talk about forgiving yourself. We can't forgive others unless you forgive yourself. People are highly critical of themselves, and we need to be mindful that we can't forgive other people unless we're less critical of ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's a real shame to think of as we get older, the idea of us holding on to things in our heads, in our minds, whether it's regrets, things that we feel guilty about, all these negative emotions can really weigh on us. And if you can try and let go of them, as you say, by forgiving yourself, other people, talking through things, it can really make a difference to our mental health.
Yes, you've exactly said it. The way I think about it, life unfolds for people in very, very different ways. And we have to be less critical of ourselves and others and try to make our life more joyful.
Yeah. The importance of having a good sleep is huge as well, isn't it? That can have a big effect on our health and mental health particularly. And if we're lying in bed worrying about things, whatever it might be, whether it's ourselves or other people, again, that can really affect our ability to have a decent night's sleep.
Yes, I agree. Sleep is very critical, and we all need downtime. And sleep has been written about for centuries as a way to relax ourselves and find a new definition for ourselves as we awaken in the morning, and I think also we have to be more grateful, and we have to awaken every morning and be grateful for that day. And I think people lose sight of that. They get up in the morning, they're rushing around, they're trying to get off here or there, and they wake up being angry at someone in their life, and they lose the essence of what the day is about, and that is being grateful and taking advantage of that gratefulness each and every day. And I think also it leads me to believe that spirituality is also something that if you're able to adapt to some kind of spiritual nature for yourself, that's also very helpful because it gives you more meaning. And frequently, if your spirituality leads to a religious faith, it also gives you a sense of community, which is also very important as we age. It's important to socialize, be around people who think similarly, and these are all behaviors that I talk about in the book.
Yeah. Yeah, the socialization thing is really important. I think, if you're lucky enough to have a partner, socializing together with other people, getting that in place, not for this purpose, obviously, but just because it's nice to do. But when your partner goes, or if you were to go before your partner, being on your own, living in the house on your own, if you have that social network already around you, that can make a huge difference to life, I think.
Yes, absolutely. And even if you're on your own and single as you age, or even if you're younger, the idea of a sense of community is really very critical. Because if you have a sense of community, you have some kind of social context to be part of a group. And that also is very helpful, not only as you age, but at any time in your life.
Yeah. I loved what you said earlier as well about putting yourself first. I think so often we're brought up with the importance of putting other people before ourselves, and that's the right thing to do. We should really put other people first. And it's funny, the older we get, the more understanding that we have that it's not about not caring about other people and being selfish or narcissistic, as you said. It's the importance of self-care and making the right decisions for yourself, maybe ahead of other people. And it's a very different way of looking at it, but so important.
Yes, exactly. I think we're all raised to believe you've got to, always be kind to that other person. But we're not raised to believe also to be kind to ourselves. And so we have to teach ourselves that on our own, at no matter what age. And being kind to ourselves is really critical to keep all those demons away from us.
Yeah. And I have to ask you, working as a psychiatrist and working in practice for more than 50 years, you said, what are some of the most common issues that people face, both emotionally and physically? And because I know you've been through every subject with people in the book, which I think is why you've put the book together, because there's so much to cover. But what are some of the most frequent issues, would you say?
Well, first of all, most of the chapters in the book, which there's 43, come from different questions that my patients over the years have asked of me. And I have had a skewed practice in that I don't see deeply disturbed people who require medication. If you're bipolar or schizophrenic, you absolutely need medication. But in my practice, I don't have one patient on medication, for example. And most of the issues I worked with people for all of these years are interpersonal struggles. It may be a conflict with a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a child, but these are interpersonal struggles that people want to better understand and work through. And for example, let's say someone is going through a divorce and they might come to see me. And they might say, well, a friend of theirs is getting divorced and their psychiatrist put them on medication. I often will say, then I might be with the wrong psychiatrist for you, because going through a divorce is painful. It's very painful. I've been there, so I know what it's like. And I'm very professional, but we'll share that with the patient, and they'll say to me, "Oh my, so you've been divorced, you know what it's like." And after that, the patient seems to relax and want to find other ways to understand themselves and not get themselves overly involved in medication. Because medication also, I can prescribe, but I tend not to. A medication has a variety of side effects. You're not going to take a antidepressant and not have a side effect from it. You know, it can cause weight gain. It can cause anxiety in itself. There's various side effects. So I find that just trying to work with the person and help them understand what the dilemma is and what happened is enough to help them get through and get themselves to a new place.
Yeah. Do you think in general medication is too readily, too easily given out to people suffering with mental health issues?
I believe so. There's a caveat. You know, if someone's deeply disturbed and troubled, medication is certainly indicated. You know, as I said previously, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, severe depression, yes. But I do feel that a lot of the medication given to patients comes from primary care doctors. You know, they're seeing 30 or 40 people a day. They're overwhelmed with their practices, and someone comes in and says, "I'm depressed," or "I'm upset with my husband," and they say, "Well, then I'll put you on an antidepressant and come back in a month."
Yeah.
And that's not the best way to do it, but I can't blame the practitioner because they're overwhelmed by their practice.
Yeah, it shouldn't be the first option, should it?
No.
No.
It should be, ideally, but it doesn't happen, and I'm not faulting the doctor, the primary care physician. It should be, let's sit and talk for a while about what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
You know, many years ago, that's the way it worked. When I was first in practice in the 60s, you know, primary care physicians would sit and talk with their patients. When I finished my internship, I worked in an emergency room for 1 year, and it wasn't that busy. So if people would come in anxious and upset, I would sit down and say, "Let's talk about it." But I can understand it just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. And as a psychiatrist, what is the main difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist then?
Well, a psychiatrist is a medical doctor. We've all gone to medical school, just like a surgeon or any other specialist. And then after we graduate medical school, in those days when I trained, we did a rotating internship. In other words, you went through every specialty. And after that, a lot of young doctors would just go into practice and be family doctors. But to train in psychiatry, it was a 3-year residency program where you intensively learn about mental illness and how to treat it. And also, because you're an MD, you can medicate. A psychologist comes from a very, very different place. And psychologists can be very, very effective in the treatment of persons. In some ways, what's really critical about working with our patients is it a good mix? In other words, do the patient and a psychiatrist or psychologist feel good about each other in a working relationship. If not, it's not going to work. But psychologists have a lot of contributions to make to treatment, but they can't medicate. Mm-hmm. So if they feel you need a medication, they have to send you to a psychiatrist, or they have to send you to your primary care physician for that medication.
Yeah. Okay. And one other thing I wanted to ask you, I know, but you're based in LA, in Beverly Hills, and you've been called the psychiatrist to the stars. I assume that the stars and the celebrities that you've worked with have all the same issues as us normal folk, do they?
Absolutely. The only difference about people in the business, so to speak, is, and I really admire them for it, is they're very open about their conflict, and that they recognize that being in treatment is of value. You see, there's no shame in being in psychotherapy or psychoanalytic treatment, but for whatever the reason, that stigma has been around for a long time. And I think people in the movie business, entertainment business, have overcome a lot of that. Mm-hmm. And they're willing to talk about it. But their problems are no different than any of ours.
Yeah. Yeah, it shows strength to go and see a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist, doesn't it? It's certainly not a weakness.
No, it is, as you say, a strength. Dr. Alexander, who was a big proponent of physical and mental, he wrote all the early books on psychosomatic medicine, about how our mental state affects our physical state. But he felt, for example, that the waiting room, the private little waiting room, was stigmatizing. Mm-hmm. And he felt it was like a secret, like you're doing something bad, so that you sit in a little tiny waiting room and the patients don't see each other. They come in one door, leave another door. So, and I'm a big believer in that also.
Yeah. Well, it's been great to chat with you, Arnold Gilberg. Thank you very much for joining us. And if listeners want to get a copy of your book, it's called The Myth of Aging, a prescription for emotional and physical well-being. It's available on our website, tre.radio. Arnold Gilberg, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Have a great day.
You too.